Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for being with us. Tensions flared at City Hall today as Council debated a new policy that would limit the types of flags that can be raised outside City Hall. CBC's Chris Ensing reports.
We've been sitting here for 2 hours.
Some protesters shouted their frustrations out during a Windsor Council meeting, worried that a policy change could prevent the pride flag from getting raised at City Hall.
Shame! Shame!
This person was escorted out of council chambers shouting shame at city councillors after they decided to push debate over potential changes to the city's flag raising policy to another day. More than a dozen people were set to speak or wrote to council on the issue. They're worried the new policy would prevent the pride flag from being raised at City Hall. The city of Windsor has flown that flag annually for more than 20 years with the support of council. The new policy would limit raisings to official government flags, official delegations, or city-sponsored events. What was not clear to delegates today was whether or not the city would continue to allow the pride flag to be flown at City Hall.
The proposed change in the policy does not impact the LGBT community's ability to raise the flag and continue to do what we've always done. There is no impact on that. And so that's what we're trying to tell you, that we're deferring this back, but even if council accepted the proposed amendment to the policy, it does not impact the flag raisings that already happened.
More than a dozen people went outside City Hall to protest. City staff eventually closed this window blind to block council's view of the protesters.
They clearly didn't want to listen to what was in front of them. They just wanted to put on a display, which they did. And that's fine. I mean, we'll continue to work with Pride and the people who, look forward to working with us.
The flag policy will come back for more discussion at a future meeting of City Council with more information from staff. The head of the Windsor-Essex Pride Festival says that she believes council will pass a policy that allows the pride flag to continue to fly at City Hall. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
A new permanent location for Windsor's homelessness hub, known as H4, will no longer be limited to the downtown area. Council decided today that staff should look for potential sites across the city.
I'd rather have it as open as we possibly can.
There has to be direction for administration. Otherwise, where are they going to look at the whole city?
Yeah.
Will you put a kilometer radius on something? And you've said it yourself, Councillor, in the past. Let's stop telling people what we're looking at. It's going to be up to this council to make a decision.
I'm prepared to have this conversation. I'm prepared to move forward to see what options are open, but we can't lose sight of what the key objective is and what the ripple effects will be for many different organizations and agencies and people that are involved here. But I'm happy to support the motion and see what comes of it in a future meeting.
The city has been trying to find a place for the Help Hub. It's currently operating out of the former Waterworld building. It offers drop-in services and emergency shelter. A study from a few years ago said the site should be within a 2-kilometer radius of the downtown core to be close to those who need it the most. But today, council voted to drop that restriction. Staff have now been directed to come up with a list of possible locations anywhere in Windsor. Colette Kennedy joins us now for our first look at weather on a really beautiful Monday, Colette.
Yeah, well, this is the way to start a week, right? Now we're getting the hang of it here. Yeah, beautiful conditions, high pressure in place, so all kinds of sunshine. Of course, I've got to show you, though, just so you see what's coming next, which is this system southwest of us. And yes, it is going to be pushing towards southwestern Ontario. So we're fine tonight. A few clouds out there, certainly, but 11 degrees for the low. Tomorrow we'll start off quite nicely as well, but just know that we're going to get into some increasing cloudiness as we push into those afternoon hours, even towards the lunch hour. A high of 22, however, and then there will be some rain showers coming in as well with that system, and I'll break that down in the timing on that when I come back.
Say it ain't so. Yeah. Thanks so much, Colette.
At least it's not snow.
Exactly. We'll check back in a bit later. Their Majesties, the King and Queen, have arrived in Ottawa. It's where King Charles will deliver the speech from the throne tomorrow, starting off the new session of Parliament. This is his 20th visit to Canada, but his first as king. A symbolic move meant to help Canada set itself apart from the United States. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
A royal welcome to Canada's king. Charles and Camilla are in the capital for a short but significant trip. The visit is meant to show the United States that Canada is not interested in becoming its 51st state.
God save the King! God save the King!
Ottawa wants to remind the world, unlike the U.S., Canada is a constitutional monarchy and a sovereign nation.
So it's a good day for Canada.
Prime Minister Mark Carney personally requested the royal visit. He has repeatedly pointed to Canada's founding by British, French, and Indigenous peoples as one of the ways Canada is fundamentally different than its neighbor to the south.
Canada is Canada and will never be anything else.
It reinforces that we are a sovereign nation, having the king here, and that we're not for sale.
In the theme of Canadian pride, the king was part of a ceremonial puck drop. He mingled with the packed crowd, keen to catch a sight of the royals.
I only got a glimpse of them, but I'm still so happy to be here.
Our tradition and heritage comes from the monarchy, and we're grateful.
Their Majesties toured a farmer's market.
The king asked me about the radishes. He said, my goodness, those are beautiful radishes.
It's a nod to the push to buy local Canadian goods in the thick of a trade war.
We're Canadians. We're a strong nation. We're a sovereign nation. We need to stay that way, and we can do this. We can get through these tough times together as a nation.
And at Rideau Hall, the King's official residence in Canada, Charles planted a tree and had a meeting with the Governor General. Here on Tuesday will be the main event. From inside the Senate, the King will deliver the speech from the throne. He's the first monarch to do that in nearly 50 years. It will lay out this new government's priorities and vision for the future of Canada. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
MPs are back in the House of Commons after nearly 6 months. There are more than 100 new faces following the spring election, including Prime Minister Mark Carney himself, as well as a new occupant in the Speaker's chair. Rafi Boudjikanian reports from Ottawa.
A day of firsts. This veteran Quebec Liberal MP's inaugural as Speaker of the House.
I would remind members that we are at the beginning of a mandate in the selfish hope that you will afford me a little grace period.
Francis Scarpaleggia will be the new House referee, voted in by his peers from all political parties to trade his partisan affiliation and ability to vote for the responsibility of maintaining decorum in the Commons.
As I rise in this House for the first time, I hope you will permit me to thank my constituents in Nepean.
It was also the Prime Minister's day one in the chamber.
I have much to learn from the members of this great House. I will make mistakes. I have no doubt that you will call them out for good reason.
Just shy of a majority, the Liberals lose one more voice in key votes as they set out their legislative agenda.
How can you afford that, given you're so close to a majority?
Well, I don't know what to say to that. We're going to have a Liberal Speaker. The House elects a Speaker.
But some have bigger issues. The Conservatives first, their leader is not in the House of Commons. Andrew Scheer picking up some duties after Pierre Poilievre lost his seat in last month's vote and has to wait for the summer and a chance at a by-election redo.
This is where the government is held to account. They have an enormous amount of power, and we, parliamentarians, must provide ruthless scrutiny.
And then there's the NDP, returning to Ottawa with just 7 MPs, losing official party status. That would typically remove parliamentary budgets for research, staff, even office space. The New Democrats negotiating with the government to keep some of these amenities.
We've already made some progress. For instance, we have access to the lobby. We've kept our offices.
The Liberals' priorities include the Canada-US relationship and knocking down trade barriers. Carney has also said that he won't table a budget until the fall, and that could be the first bone of contention in this sitting, as opposition parties try to pressure him to reveal the government's finances sooner. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
Back to local news now. Late May is the unofficial start of summer in Canada, but be careful if you have plans to light up a campfire in the city. The CBC's Chris Ensing outlines a new hefty hike to fines.
If you plan on having a backyard fire that looks like this in Windsor, be prepared to pay a $570 fine if firefighters are dispatched to your home. That's because City Council hiked the penalty after seeing a large increase in the number of open air burn complaints last year. More than 360 dispatches, according to the Windsor Fire Department, and the fire chief says that he is done handing out warnings. A city bylaw states what you can burn and how you can burn it in Windsor. If you are cooking with a pizza oven, a barbecue, or a meat smoker, that's fine. And if you have a fireplace that runs on propane or natural gas, that's okay too. But when you think of the typical campfire that uses wood logs to burn, that is not allowed. And I did ask the fire chief, what if you have a cooking grill stashed off to the side that you pull out once firefighters show up? He said that isn't going to cut it. Now, you can apply for a permit with the city, but you have to follow very specific conditions to get that approved. It costs $150. 11 have been applied for since 2023. 2 have been approved. This bylaw is in place, the fire department says, because of safety concerns. There have been times in the past where backyard fires have spread out of control and moved to parts of the property. Now, he said, the fire chief, that part of the reason why this is such a concern is because of the higher call volume that the city's fire department is dealing with, and he is worried about firefighters being tied up for these types of backyard fires when there are other more important calls to get to. Now, this whole entire process is complaint driven. So the only reason the fire department will show up to your property is because a neighbor has complained. Chris Hensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Meanwhile, talks between Canada Post and its union workers are set to resume over the next few days. This after the two sides met on Sunday afternoon in Ottawa amid warnings of mail delivery delays tied to the national ban on overtime for postal workers. The union said in a statement that they've worked hard to carefully evaluate the Crown Corporation's latest offers. Canada Post said it received responses during the talks and would be reviewing them in detail. Issues like sick days, wages, workers' compensation, relief staff, and weekend delivery are all on the negotiation table. Imagine bringing your favorite food to school or work only to feel a wave of embarrassment because it's different. For a local filmmaker, that feeling of shame is all too real. She grew up in Windsor's Filipino community and had that experience as a child. Now she's cooked up a documentary that highlights and taps into other stories much like hers. It's called Dear Lunchbox, and she shared some of her story on Windsor Morning with host Amy Dodge.
Take us into a typical day at school. So it's lunchtime, you open up your lunchbox. How does it feel to have people looking or smelling and judging what's in that lunchbox?
Yeah, opening the lunchbox with some of the more different cultural dishes, it felt, at first I didn't really think anything of it, but I started to feel more conscious and more aware when it was brought to my attention of how different and off-putting it looked or smelled. And that essentially is kind of when I started bringing those conversations into my community and my family when I was older. I kind of realized that the experience that I felt and went through was more common than I thought. A lot of our experience happened when we were in elementary school. And when we brought that whole topic up, we were maybe in our early 20s. So it took a long time for us to kind of unpack that together. But when I found out that, people as close as my cousins are also going through this, it kind of woke something up in me to kind of tell these stories and to kind of see where we're at now in terms of, being ashamed and embarrassed of our food growing up and kind of reconciling that hurt as we, grow up and experience life and our culture a little bit more. I learned a lot about myself, and it's really exciting to kind of have it out here on CBC Gem and to have that support from, everybody watching it and kind of just the community, especially the Windsor community, because, that's where I'm from, that's where I grew up, so it feels really great.
As you heard there, Dear Lunchbox is streaming on CBC Gem on the program Absolutely Canadian. A live look outside. They're a beautiful day today. We recovered from last week, but more rain is on the way. Colette will tell us all about that later in the program. But first, when we come back, the aftermath after a tragedy in Walkerton. Stay with us. Welcome back. Many in the small Ontario town of Walkerton are still reeling after last week's devastating crash that killed 4 teenage athletes and their teacher outside of London. CBC's Lisa Shing has more on how the victims are being remembered in their hometown.
It's a heavy day here in Walkerton. Students were heading to school this morning. There was almost complete silence. There was no laughter. It's clear they're still trying to cope with this tragedy, trying to figure out why this happened to their school community. Parents were telling me as well that they found it unfathomable that 5 people were taken from them. The school tells me that mental health workers are on site to support students through this, especially the high schoolers who may have known the students as well as the teacher. What we know about what happened: 5 people were killed Friday afternoon. The teenagers were 16 and 17 years old. Olivia Rourke, Rowan McLeod, Cadence Ford, and Danica Baker, as well as 33-year-old teacher and coach Matt Eckert. They were traveling back to Walkerton from London, Ontario, from a softball tournament, and they were about half an hour outside of London, Ontario, where the crash happened. All police will tell us is that their SUV crashed into a transport truck, and then the SUV then crashed into another SUV. We don't know much more than that, but police are still investigating what happened. This is a community that is small, that is tight-knit. Everyone I've spoken to seems to either be directly connected to one of the families or multiple families or know someone who knows them. It is 5,000 people, and so I think this tragedy has really resounded throughout the entire community as well. These were athletes, and they played in various sports leagues. Eckert coached lacrosse in the nearby town of Owen Sound. The girls played in various leagues in surrounding communities too, so the grief is wide-reaching. There was a candlelight vigil last night in front of the school, and the parking lot was packed with people, with students, with parents, with teachers, and people in the community as well who wanted to come together and grieve. There have been grassroots movements, people urging community members to put shoes out on the porch in tribute. So it's very clear that despite this tragedy that has resounded throughout the community of Walkerton, that there's also a lot of love and a lot of support here. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Walkerton, Ontario.
Kyiv says Russia has carried out its largest drone attack yet in its 3-year-old war against Ukraine. The Ukrainian Air Force says Moscow launched more than 350 drones and 9 cruise missiles. Villa Marks reports.
There was some intemperate language from the US president responding to questions from journalists in the wake of the latest devastating attacks on Ukrainian cities, including the capital, Kyiv.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all. I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people, and something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
President Trump took to social media following that outburst, describing President Putin, who he'd known for a long time, as having gone absolutely crazy and warning this behavior, if it continues, could lead to the downfall of Russia. He also voiced some criticism for President Zelensky of Ukraine, saying that he needed to watch what he said because his words were creating problems. The Kremlin responded to this outburst by describing President Trump's words as an emotional overload, and saying that the Russian presidency, as well as the Russian people, were grateful for the American president's intervention in kickstarting negotiations. The next round of talks will likely take place in the Vatican next month. They will likely include European leaders, perhaps the Ukrainian president, and certainly senior officials from the United States. What's not clear, after President Putin failed to turn up for talks this month in Istanbul, is whether senior Russian officials will participate. Villa Marks for CBC News, London.
When we come back, Paula Kennedy will join us once again to tell us more about the weather in the days ahead. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. Colette, we talked about how we scored this beautiful day today, but we do have rain on the way. So talk us through what we need to know.
Yeah, we do have rain on the way, but at least what's nice is that it's going to take its time getting here. It's not right on the doorstep. I think, after the pattern that we had that got stuck for so long, it's like, oh no, there's rain coming. We got another mostly nice day ahead of us, and then, yeah, we'll bring some of this in. Just checking out your current temperatures, 20 degrees in Windsor, Chatham, Kent at 18. Some of the cooler numbers just because of the breeze coming in there off of the lake. Otherwise, it's been a pleasant day. Tiny bit of instability further east in the province, kind of north of Lake Ontario, and there are just a few little showers or even isolated thunderstorms kind of bubbling up and a couple of lightning strikes. But otherwise, we're under a ridge of high pressure, which is very stable, those conditions. And you get the sinking air, and so we get the sunshine and the clearer skies at night. But of course, I do have to show you kind of the next feature that's going to be coming our way. So it's this system. It's got to take some time to get here, but once it does, we will have some showers pushing back towards us. So rolling this through time, there's a little bit of that increase in cloud even happening overnight tonight. And then tomorrow, when I talk about variable skies, it means, the clouds change through the day, and that's what I'm seeing. We will have some clouds building in, increasing cloudiness for sure, but some sun coming through at times too, and that's what we'll be dealing with. But it's still nice because it's still dry, so there will be some sun. A few isolated showers are actually possible early on Wednesday, but really the main band is going to be starting to move through once we get to midday, kind of the lunch hour. So I don't know if you have plans on Wednesday for lunch, maybe not on a patio sort of thing. It carries on into the afternoon, and by evening, at least that band has rolled through, but we're still going to be keeping a chance for some showers in the forecast. This one isn't going to linger as long as the last one, but let's take you through that. So 22 our high for tomorrow with that increase in cloudiness here. Wednesday, we will have the rain showers. It's a little bit cooler with that moving through, 18 for the high. And then as we head into Thursday, I know it seems like many days, I'm still keeping a chance for some showers on Thursday, the high 20 degrees. And okay, the real heat that's in the prairies in Western Canada isn't exactly getting to us, but not yet as we look through this 5-day. But what is happening is the temperatures are beginning to build closer to seasonal. 24 on Friday, Saturday 23, and a nice looking weekend coming up. And Katerina, I'll leave you with this. The sun doesn't set tonight till 3 minutes to 9, so still plenty of evening to enjoy.
I love to hear that. Thank you so much, Colette, and appreciate the reassurance that it won't be so bad this week. All right, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.